In this project, we're going to deploy the lightweight Linux desktop environment Xubuntu on Google Cloud. On top of Xubuntu, we're going to deploy XRDP, which allows access to the desktop environment from a remote desktop client. There are several ways this project can be used. One common scenario is deploying it as a shared development environment for a small team. The desktop image we build includes all prerequisites required to clone and build any project on our channel for any cloud provider. The only thing you need to add are your access credentials. Another popular use case is running a lightweight Linux desktop as a jump box into your cloud environment. It's a cheaper alternative to using a Windows-based jump box. We'll begin by provisioning the mini Active Directory instance. This provides centralized authentication for our desktop users. As a part of the AD setup, several sample users are created. Their credentials are stored securely as secrets. Next, we'll use Packer to build a reusable Ubuntu image that has a desktop environment installed. We'll then take the image built from Packer and deploy a VM instance to test the desktop. Once the VM is initialized, we'll open an RDP client to the desktop server. At this point, you can pull out the credentials from Secrets Manager to start testing the desktop environment immediately after the build. Here, I am logging in as Raj Patel. Now let's cover the prerequisites for these GCP desktop builds. First off, there's a video out there called GCP and Terraform Easy Setup. I'll put a link at the top. That walks you through how you create a build identity in the GCP console and extract out the credentials.json you'll need to put in the project folder for the builds. So here's what you'll need for the build. You need that Google Cloud account with the build identity and credentials.json for plugging into the build. You need the gcloud CLI, you need Terraform, and you need Packer. Now we're ready to build the code. So what you want to do is go back to the GitHub documentation and navigate to the download this repository section. From there, copy the git clone command and paste it into your development environment. This will download the code and put you in the correct directory. So the first thing you want to do is you want to run the checkenv script. This is going to go validate that all your prerequisites are met. It comes back and says, hey, the credentials.json is not there. This is the GCP specific part where you have to extract the credentials.json out of the console and put it into the root directory of the build. So what I'm going to do is upload my credentials.json. Now I'll run checkenv. And now it's going to go back and say, okay, the credentials.json is valid and we've logged in to the build identity. So now what we need to do is, this is GCP specific, we have to run API setup. This is going to enable all the APIs necessary for doing the builds. This may take a couple minutes to run. Now we're ready to run the apply script. The build takes between 30 and 60 minutes. It's highly variable and most of the time is in the Packer build script. As always, if you have any questions or comments about this project, please leave them down in the comment section and I will answer. The build has completed, so now let's go to the console and take a look at what got built. Let's first take a look at the VM instances. There are 3 VM instances deployed with this project. The first VM instance is the mini Active Directory instance. This is created by the mini AD Terraform module. You can use this module in your own projects. I'll put a link at the top to that project. Mini AD deploys a Samba 4 domain controller and some sample user accounts. Mini AD can run on very cheap instances and provisions quickly. It is ideal for demos and prototypes. The next VM instance is the Windows AD admin server. You can use this server to manage the users and groups associated with this project and its mini AD deployment. In the demo, we show you how to create a new desktop user using this VM. The main event is the Xubuntu desktop instance. We first create an image with Packer, which installs the desktop environment. In the Packer build, we use Ubuntu as a base image, and we install the Xubuntu desktop environment, XRDP, Chrome and Firefox, all the prerequisites for building anything on our channel, Terraform, Packer, Docker, then the AZ CLI, gcloud CLI, and AWS CLI. And finally, Visual Studio Code and Postman for developing code. Immediately after the build completes, you can go into Secrets Manager and use one of the 4 sample user accounts for logging into the desktop environment. In the demo, we will log in as Raj Patel. For the demo, the first thing you want to do is run the validate script to get the IP address of the Xubuntu desktop instance. So we'll copy that, then you bring up the remote desktop client. This will put you into the XRDP login dialog. So I need to go back to Secrets Manager in the console and get the credentials for Raj Patel. Now what's a little bit irritating is I can't copy and paste in the XRDP dialog for security reasons. I have to type in this value manually. You can copy and paste in the desktop environment, just not the XRDP dialog. So I'm going to type those credentials manually and log in as Raj Patel. So we'll run through the various applications that are installed in this desktop environment. The first one is Google Chrome. Next is Firefox. Next we have Postman. Of course, Postman is good for testing HTTP endpoints and microservices. We also have this application called OnlyOffice. OnlyOffice allows you to open Word files, Excel files, PowerPoint files, and PDF files in this environment. Then, of course, we have Visual Studio Code. In this environment, we've installed all the prerequisites for building anything on our channel. This includes Packer, Terraform, Docker, AWS, AZ, and gCloud. The idea here is you can build anything on our channel. The only thing you need to do is to provide your credentials. So I've actually added credentials for all three cloud providers. So I can go into AWS Setup and run checkenv.sh, and it's going to go through and make sure you have all the prerequisites, which you should because we've installed it, and then it's going to make an AWS connection on your behalf. Same thing with Azure Setup. I can do checkenv. It is going to make sure you have all the requirements set, and then it's also going to check to see you can log in. We also have the GCP setup, and we can run that script, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to make sure you have everything installed, and then it's going to make sure that it can connect to your Google Cloud account. The last application we install is XRDP. This allows you to use this desktop environment as a jump box. So what we're going to do is we're in the Xubuntu desktop. We're going to jump into the Windows AD admin server and take a look at that. So I'm going to connect to that server, hit OK. Now you can see we've logged into the Windows AD admin server using this environment as the jump box. Now let's walk through creating a new user for the desktop environment. The first thing you want to do is get into the desktop environment, and we're going to use this as a jump box. The next step is we're going to go back to the development environment and run validate. And validate is going to give you either the fully qualified domain of the Windows instance or the IP address. So this, you take the domain name here. Let's go back to the desktop environment and let's go to Applications, Internet, XRDP. We're going to use this environment, like I said, as a jump box. So we want to go in here, we do RDP. That is the AD admin box from the validate script. Click on that. And what we want to do is hit OK. And we're going to do R Patel. And we need to go back and get those credentials from Credentials Manager again. So I hit OK. Password from Credentials Manager. Okay, so this is the Windows AD admin box. And so what we want to do is I'm going to go to full screen here. And I am going to say, first off, we're on the Windows side. And so the first thing you'll notice is there is a Z drive. The Z drive maps the shared file system. What you can do on that is go in there and then go into the project directory and go to utils. And remember, when you add a new Linux user on the Windows side, you have to specify GID number, UID number, and UID. So we need to calculate what the next UUID is. So I'm going to go get next UID. It's going to come back and say your next UID number for your next user you're going to add is 10,005. And I'm going to bring up administrative tools. Then I'm going to do Active Directory users and groups. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do View Advanced Features. So I'm going to go and expand my domain, and I'm going to go to the Users folder, and I'm going to say New User. I'm going to call the user Mike Cloud. I'm going to give it a user login of mcloud. Hit Next. You need to specify a password. I'm going to say don't expire. Hit Next, and it's going to finish. So now we need to go to My Cloud, and we have a couple of things we need to set in here. The first thing is we go to Attribute Editor, and this is where you set the UID number, GID number, and UID. So I'm going to go to the GID number, and we're going to set that to 10,001. That is the mcloud users group. Okay? Then we're going to go back down to UID. In UID, I need to set the user ID of the Linux side. So I'm going to do mcloud, hit add. And then we need to specify UID number. And that's the one that we calculated to begin with. It's 10,005. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit OK. So now we've set the required attributes. Now we need to give some group membership. So I'm going to go back to properties here. And I'm going to say member of. I'm going to say add and mcloud users. And let's just call this person in US. And then I'm also going to add and say Linux admins. And this user will also be able to sudo on the desktop environment. So I'm going to hit OK. Now, a quick thing you can test out here is you can go into here and say get next UID, hit run, and it's going to say 10,006 because 10,005 is now owned by the mcloud user. So at this point, we're ready to actually log into the desktop. So you bring up your remote desktop client. I'm going to hit connect. So we get the XRDP dialog. So I'm going to do mcloud, and I'm going to set the credential, or use the credentials I set when I added a user. And there you go. You've logged in as mcloud. If I bring up a shell, I can say ID, and it's going to show you mcloud. You got the GID number, which is mcloud users. Then you have the different groups that I assigned. Since I did Linux admins, I should be able to do sudo bash, and I am now root. So that's the steps for adding a new user into your desktop environment. At this point, after you've played with the desktop environment, it's now time to be a good steward of your cloud accounts. And what you want to do is destroy your project. So you want to run the destroy. The destroy takes about 10 minutes for all the desktops.